When I stepped into my apartment that night, the first thing that hit me was the scent of baby powder. Then came the sound, the faint, restless whimper of a newborn drifting from my bedroom. For a second, I thought I'd walked into the wrong place. But no. The picture frames on the wall, my coffee mug on the counter, my jacket hanging over the chair, they were all mine. What wasn't mine anymore was my bed. Or rather, it was, but now it was occupied by my sister, her newborn, and a hurricane of baby stuff scattered across the room like confetti after a storm. Mom said it's temporary, she mumbled without looking up from her phone. I stood frozen in the doorway, my work badge still hanging around my neck. Temporary? I asked. Yeah, she yawned. You can take the smaller room. It's easier if I stay here for a few months, with the baby and all. My parents appeared behind me like they'd rehearsed an intervention. Sweetheart, my mom began, your sister needs help right now. Be understanding. Understanding? I echoed. The word felt strange on my tongue. Dad crossed his arms. She just gave birth. Family comes first. You can help with the baby, it'll be good practice for you. I stared at him. Practice. He brushed it off and added casually, if it's too much, we'll just have to raise your rent. You know how expensive this area is. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about helping family, it was about control. I didn't yell or argue. I just nodded and said, of course. I understand. They smiled, thinking I'd given in. But inside, I'd already switched gears. From emotion to strategy. That night, I moved my things into the smaller room. I didn't sleep. I lay there listening to the baby's cries and my sister's sighs echo through the walls of the apartment I paid for. The irony burned. I'd rented this place from my parents because I trusted them. They'd told me it was an investment in family. For years, I'd helped with their mortgage, always on time, never late. I thought loyalty meant something. Turns out, it only does until someone finds a better use for you. The next morning, I smiled as I poured my coffee and saw my sister feeding her baby in my chair. Don't worry, I said warmly. I'll help. And I did, but not in the way they imagined. That afternoon, I called my lawyer. The rental setup wasn't official, no lease, no contract, just monthly transfers into my parents' account. That was their first mistake. The second was underestimating how quietly I could flip the situation. I stopped paying rent, just like that. 2 weeks later, my dad called. Hey, the payment didn't go through. Oh, I said casually, yeah, about that. I moved out. What? Yeah, I said, walking barefoot along the beach in Hawaii, letting the waves erase the last traces of my old life. You said if I didn't help, you'd raise the rent. So, I figured I'd solve both problems. You can't just leave, he said sharply. I can, I cut him off. Oh, and you might want to check the utilities. They're all under my name. You'll need to set those up again. The silence on the other end was thick, almost trembling. You're joking, he finally said. I smiled. No, Dad. You are. And I hung up. What they never knew was that I already had a second home, my quiet little escape in Hawaii. I'd bought it years ago after my first big promotion, a private place no one knew about. A symbol of the independence I'd been too busy, or too loyal, to enjoy. While they scrambled to cover bills and juggle responsibilities, I woke up to the sound of waves and sunlight on my face. A week later, I texted my sister, how's the baby? And the power outage? I'd canceled all the automatic payments, electricity, internet, water. Everything was in my name, after all. I'd been too generous for too long. Watching their world dim, literally, felt poetic. A month passed before my mother finally called. Her voice was smaller, quieter this time. Your sister moved out. She said it was too hard without air conditioning. We had to sell a few things to pay the bills. I let her words linger in the silence before replying softly, that must have been hard. It was, she admitted. We shouldn't have pressured you like that. It wasn't fair. No, I said calmly. It wasn't. She hesitated. Are you coming back? I looked out at the sea, sunlight flickering on the waves. I am home, I said. And I meant it. Because revenge, I realized, wasn't about hurting them. It was about taking back what was mine, my boundaries, my peace. They thought guilt, family, and obligation could trap me. But silence turned out to be the sharpest weapon. You don't fight people like that head-on. You let their own dependency collapse around them. Now, when I think back to that night, the baby's cry, my father's smug tone, my mother's soft manipulation, I don't feel anger anymore. Just clarity. They wanted a free nanny. Instead, they lost their tenant, their income, and their control. And me? I gained peace.